You could destroy all of Ivalice if you wished it.
Final Fantasy XII The Zodiac Age is a high-definition remaster of Final Fantasy XII, which was released towards the end of the PS2's lifecycle in 2006 and is one of the darker, more mature entries in the long-running JRPG franchise. The world of Final Fantasy XII The Zodiac Age is Ivalice. Roaming its many locales has you interacting with a wealth of non-humans, such as lizard-type creatures and a furry winged race known as Moogle, a staple of the series. You'll cast magic spells, and giant airships feature through the game. It's a heady mix of magic and sci-fi that manages to stay fresh through the duration of your playthrough. As for the plot, Final Fantasy XII The Zodiac Age has a group of ragtag heroes who set out to free the country of Dalmasca from the clutches of the Arcadian Empire. During the journey, you'll learn about the strange forces at play behind the scenes, the origins and history of Ivalice, and of course the motivations of your characters, particularly the swashbuckling support cast such as Basch, a disgraced knight of Dalmasca, and Sky Pirate Balthier, who appears to be the Final Fantasy equivalent of Han Solo. They form a rather intriguing bunch, especially when compared to the game's lead Vaan, a street urchin with dreams of commanding his own airship. He fits into the stereotypical, almost androgynous male youth mold and isn't interesting as the rest of the Final Fantasy XII crew. This isn't far from a problem though. Unlike other Final Fantasy games, the events of Final Fantasy XII The Zodiac Age play out on a grand scale. They're replete with political intricacies and scheming galore. Kind of like Game of Thrones minus the R-rated scenes. Fraught with twists and turns that would leave you guessing, it's a treat to watch this masterpiece of a plot unfold before your very eyes. Like most remasters, the most obvious enhancements are visual. It looks clean for most part, minus any jagged edges and blurriness from the PS2 version, which is to be expected considering how much more powerful the PS4 is. From sewer passageways to grand airships, Final Fantasy XII The Zodiac Age's environments are solid. Even its many open-world areas hold up well, despite some quirks like being unable to hide in the grass or jump off cliffs or ledges exist, a holdover from the game's PS2 days. Despite being over a decade old, iconic vistas such as the dusty streets of Rabanastre and the floating city of Bujerba don't look out of place thanks to the art direction. However, when the game takes control away from you and shifts to the cutscenes to tell its tale, is when things go askew. Facial details on characters tend to be watered down up close, and the odd aspect ratio, which results in a generous portion of your display sporting a black bar below even though there are no subtitles, do make it a bit jarring. It's further compounded by the fact that its many pieces of voice dialogue don't exactly sync with the lip movements of those on screen. You can go all the way up to 4K if you have a compatible TV, but unlike Final Fantasy XV and XIV, you can't choose between enhanced visuals or a better frame rate via the settings. It's not something you'd expect from a game that claims to offer PS4 Pro support. As for the frame rate itself, it appears to be the same as to what Final Fantasy X and the X-2 remaster had, with 30 frames per second. Nonetheless, these technical missteps are a minor concern. The music in Final Fantasy XII holds up well. Be it the original tracks or their re-recordings, they're great to listen to even when you're not in the game. Oral additions aside, your progress is auto-saved as you move from one area to another, removing your dependency on playing until you reach a save point. And fast forward, which lets you speed through the game world, making Final Fantasy XII's quests all the more palpable. Perhaps the biggest inclusion of Final Fantasy XII The Zodiac Age is how you customize your characters to make them stronger. Borrowing from the Japan-only Final Fantasy XII International Zodiac job system for the PS2, you can assign roles to your characters, giving them specific skills. For instance, choosing the mage job allows the casting of magic, while being a knight gives the character access to heavier armor. This is coupled with a license system that lets you equip characters with gear specific to the job type. Furthermore, each character can switch between two jobs. It's a welcome change, particularly for those of us who played through the original. Unlike prior entries where battles were mostly random turn-based affairs, this one follows a rather realistic approach where you see your enemies on screen and fight them in actual game context. Added to this are gambits, an automated system of actions for each of your characters during battle. Suppose you want to be healed every time your health goes down by 70%, all you have to do is set the required gambit for it. Battling may not have the fast real-time approach you've seen in Final Fantasy XV, but Final Fantasy XII The Zodiac Age holds its own, giving you a slew of options to wage war on your terms. The difficulty seems to have been toned down too, making encounters with the game's many bosses, such as Judge Geese and the Fireman, a lot easier than they were in the original. And then there's Trial Mode, which lets you fight over 100 battle scenarios outside the main game. This is a neat touch for those wanting to experience more with the nuances of the game's battle system, as you'll constantly have to re-evaluate your gambits and strategies as you progress. As it stands, Final Fantasy XII The Zodiac Age is a remaster worth checking out. It might not be the best looking re-release of a classic, but there's more than enough for fans and first-timers alike to revel in. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram at Gadgets360.